On this week's episode of A Drier Dose of Disney, Jared gives us a review and tips and tricks for the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind ride.
Welcome to this week's episode of A Drier Dose of Disney. I'm your host, Jared Dreyer, and today we are coming to you live from a different place. Obviously, we are not in Denver in the normal recording studio for A Drier Dose of Disney. Today, I'm recording from the Drier Dose of Disney condo in Orlando, and yes, we are on site here at Disney World. We're just a couple miles away, and we've got a lot of fun things planned for you over the next few weeks as we record here from Orlando and give you our firsthand experience and all the cool tips and tricks that we're picking up and realizing while we're out here. So a lot of fun things going on here in Orlando. Now with this, you guys can see this really cool room behind me. This is one of our guest rooms here. This is our Mickey room. This is a room that usually adults will stay in, and it's decorated with really cool Mickey and Walt themes throughout the place. And if you look back behind me above the headboard, there is a really cool item that my wife found online on Etsy that has a metal Mickey head with cutouts of dozens of different Disney characters up there on the wall. So that one's really cool. We really love the theming that we've put together in this room. And what we wanted to do is take you around through some of the different rooms over the next few episodes, so that way you guys get a chance to see the condo and all the cool things we have going on here. Because we definitely want to encourage you, if you're coming to the Orlando area and you want a cool place to stay, the Drier Dose of Disney condo is a great place to get started. There are links for that down in the podcast or video description below. So definitely you want to check that out, so that way you get an opportunity to stay here where we stay, which, like I said, is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We absolutely love it. But with that, before we dive into our episode, I do want to ask, wherever you're listening to this podcast, or if you're watching it on the YouTube format, go ahead and click pause and then find that subscribe button. So that way you're going to get this content delivered into your inbox each and every single week as we continue to update you with the latest tips and tricks, and we talk about the latest cool things that are happening at the Disney and Universal parks, especially in Orlando. Though we will be covering both East Coast and West Coast, we do spend most of our time down here in Orlando. This is our favorite place to go, so we will definitely be highlighting a lot of things down here. And we've got a lot of fun episodes coming up for you guys here shortly, so you're going to want to definitely subscribe. Today, we're going to be talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind ride over at EPCOT, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks about that, as well as I'm going to describe some of the ride to you. Now, my goal is to avoid any crazy spoilers or anything that's going to change the ride or ruin the ride for you. We just want to give you the tips and tricks and the highlights of the ride. We are going to talk about some of the music that's on there, because they do have 6 different songs you could hear while you ride the ride. But it's a great ride. It's a lot of fun, but we have a lot of people asking about it. They want to know a little bit more about how the ride works and what they should expect as they go into it. But with that, we do ask if there's any tips or tricks that have saved you time or money. If you can find that button down there in our description for Patreon, we do appreciate our supporters there. Our supporters are what keep this podcast going. You can throw us a couple bucks there or become a regular subscriber, where you're going to get access to some of the best tips and tricks out there. And we've got some cool things planned for you guys coming up here soon as we move over what's already out there for everyone. So a lot of changes are going to be coming on that side of it, but we do appreciate our supporters there at Patreon. So find that link down in the podcast description below. And then, if you haven't noticed, I'm wearing a new shirt today. This is another one from RSVLTS that I absolutely love. Just got this for Father's Day. This is an Indiana Jones shirt. I picked up a few new ones, so you're going to see those over the next few podcasts here. And I absolutely love their shirts. They breathe really well. They do really well here in the warm climate down in Orlando. So I will be wearing these to the parks over the next few days as we go with a lot of friends and family. So great shirts to wear down to the parks, and they've got a lot of cool theming design. So I encourage you, go check them out. And I don't get paid for saying that. So know that I'm not getting anything for free. I'm not getting paid by RSVLTS. I just really love their stuff. So they've got lots of really cool things. Definitely you want to go check those out. But today we're going to be talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind ride over at EPCOT. And if you're not familiar with who the Guardians of the Galaxy are, they are Marvel superheroes. So they're part of the Marvel universe. And they've had a handful of movies over the last few years, 3 that were dedicated to the Guardians of the Galaxy. The third one just came out this year in 2023. But they also appear in Infinity War in game as well. And if you haven't seen the Guardians of the Galaxy, they are led by Peter Quill, who is, they call him Plucky in one movie. He's very funny. He's got a lot of quips, a lot of one-liners. He is an Earthling who left Earth during the mid-1980s when he was a younger boy and he was taken to space. So all of his Earth references are tied back to the 80s. So he loves Kevin Bacon. He loves Footloose. He does a dance-off like in Footloose in one of the movies. So they are a lot of fun. But like I said, Peter Quill's the leader. You've got Rocket Raccoon, voiced by Bradley Cooper, who is a snarky little animal, but he's very smart. You've got Drax the Destroyer. You've got Gamora. You've got Mantis. You've got Nebula and the whole gang over there. So they're a lot of fun. Now, if you're familiar with Disneyland, they do have at California Adventure a ride out there called Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, which is where they rethemed the Tower of Terror. And they did it with these huge LEDs, and you're trying to escape the Collector, who's a character in a couple of the movies there. And that one's a ton of fun. They also play music on that one. And in fact, now that they've rebranded it, that is my favorite Tower of Terror between the two. You do have one in California Adventure. You've got one out here at Hollywood Studios. And the one at Hollywood Studios is the traditional haunted one with Twilight Zone theming. And I love the macabre. I love kind of scary things. So I do love that ride, but I do think that they did a lot better with the Mission Breakout design out at California Adventure out there on the West Coast. So definitely you're going to want to check that out. But they wanted to add that to their franchise here out in Orlando. Now, if you've not done any research on it, I'm going to give you a quick 1-minute blurb that there is a turf war that's going on over the Marvel creative material that's out there between Universal and between Disney. So Universal, obviously with Islands of Adventure, has Marvel Island. They've got Doctor Doom's Freefall, the Hulk roller coaster, Spider-Man. They've got a whole bunch of stuff that happens over there. And then obviously Disney with the Marvel Universe, they purchased the rights to most of that. They did draw a line, and it's basically the Mississippi River, and it says anything east of that they cannot use, and they being Disney cannot use any of the major elements that are included over at Universal. So that includes Captain America, Spider-Man, some of those main characters. But what that did leave for them is they were able to use things like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is what they're using right now with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind out here. So that's why you're not going to see a Marvel campus anytime soon out in Orlando. Hopefully they do get that all fixed and get that all worked out. There's a whole bunch of in and outs where Spider-Man was owned by Fox, and Fox was doing the distribution on that, and Venom and some of the other things. But they did buy some of those elements to get the rights to Spider-Man and some of the other characters. But again, they don't have the full rights to open up a full Marvel Avengers campus here in Orlando. So you're going to see that out in LA, and that's why it's present out there at California Adventure, and they don't have it at Universal, is again that turf war. They agreed to do it at Disney out there. It's an exciting thing. If you like the superheroes, if you like Marvel, there's so much creative content out there. There's a lot they can do with it. So I'm really looking forward to the future when Disney gets the full rights and they're able to put maybe a full park together around it. Or if they do a full park around Star Wars, that would be awesome as well. Lots of potential out there. But for today, we do have Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which opened up in 2022. And this is a great roller coaster over at EPCOT. It really refreshed EPCOT. They removed Ellen's Energy Adventure, which was a pre-show movie with her and Bill Nye talking about energy and where it came from. And then you'd ride these large vehicles through prehistoric times and stuff like that. So it was a slower ride. It was a little bit more boring. And they cleared all that out and they put in Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Great roller coaster. In fact, a lot of people say that this is now the new top ride out here in Orlando. I will disagree with that. I do think that there are two rides that are better than this, and that is Flight of Passage at Animal Kingdom and Rise of the Resistance at Hollywood Studios. And in fact, if I had to rank all the rides, I would put Rise at the very top, followed by Flight of Passage in a close second, and Guardians would be, I don't want to say a distant third, but the other two are just so much better. It is somewhat of a distant third just because of the way that they design those rides. You've got the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind here at Epcot. Epcot's my favorite park. If you've listened to our other episodes, we talk a lot about that and the fact that there's so much great food in the World Showcase and all that. I absolutely love Epcot, so we love going there. So to ride this today, you do have to go through the virtual queue. So I'm going to explain how the virtual queue works here. And basically, in short, it means that you're going to get your group together online and you're going to say that, yes, we want to ride this on the day that we have a reservation at that park, if you have reservations for the park. If you don't, because the new ticketing system now today, again, we are in June 2023, they do have reservations in place for most guests, but they did just do a summer thing where you can buy a 4-day, 1 park per day pass, and that one does not require a reservation. If you don't have one, you'd still be able to go in and join the virtual queue. It's just going to be slightly different for you. But you're going to go in on the My Disney Experience app on your mobile device, and that's how you're going to join the virtual queue by saying, yes, I'm going to the park on this day, and it has to be the day of, so you have to actually do it the day you're going to go to the park, and they will reserve a spot in line for you in the virtual queue. So the way that works is you'll go into the My Disney Experience app. There is a button on the main page that says join the virtual queue. And when you pull that up, you're going to have two options. You're going to have the option for Guardians of the Galaxy and Tron Light Cycles. Of course, in the future, that will always change. So in the future, Guardians may no longer have the virtual queue and it may just be Tron, or they may add another ride and you may see that one in there as well. But the principle is going to be the same. So you're going to click join the virtual queue, and it's going to have you then select who's going to be in your party for that day. Now, it is critical because the time to join the virtual queue is 7 a.m. It is critical that you go in before 7, and I do recommend at least 10 minutes before, and make sure your party is all in there and you've selected your people, because you can get through that screen and complete that step before you join the queue, and then just sit there and wait for it to refresh. So I recommend you do that right away. Make sure your party's all together. In fact, I will even go a step further and tell you that you should probably even days before go in and click that join the virtual queue just to see who's in your group, to make sure all of your people show up. You don't know how many times we have had the experience where we are with a large group of people because we go with full families to the parks, and one of their kids is not in the queue somewhere. And that is because traditionally the parent was managing the kid's ticket, and now the kid is old enough that they have their own account on the My Disney Experience app, and the two did not match up. So the best way to get that solved is you're going to want to go to guest services. You can do so at Disney Springs. That's what we prefer to do. And in fact, we have a party arriving tonight, and we know that their son, he just got his own app downloaded and he is not loaded perfectly on there. So we're going to go make sure he is all set and ready to go tonight at Disney Springs before we go to Epcot in the next couple days. So you can do that at Disney Springs, or if you're at one of the other parks, you can go to their guest services and they will help you there as well. But you want to make sure everybody in your party is listed on your friends and family list on the My Disney Experience app. Again, I'm not going to go into huge detail on how to do that. There are plenty of other YouTube videos out there, or again, to get services at any Disney park or hotel will help you out with that. So you can go check that out. But if everyone's in your list, then you're all set. Again, I would start at probably 6:50 a.m. and I would go in and make sure that all the people are on my list, and I check all the boxes of all the people that are going with me. And if you have somebody in your party, for example, that may not want to ride Guardians of the Galaxy, so maybe you have somebody who's really young or somebody who gets motion sickness, I would still recommend do the reservation for them just in case someone changes their mind. The worst thing that can happen is you have your whole group ready to go. One person said they didn't want to ride it, and now all of a sudden they do, and you no longer have that spot available to get that reservation in there. Do it for your whole entire group. And then what's going to happen is right at the stroke of 7 a.m., you're going to want to refresh that screen, and they have a refresh button there. And as soon as it pops up, it'll say join virtual queue, and you're going to click join, and you're going to get what's called a boarding group. Now, these boarding groups can be really anything from the lowest we've seen is the teens, so about 13, 14, 15, all the way up to 100 and something. And it's going to depend on the ride and their capacity for the day. They may give you up to group 120. And at that point, what's going to happen is it's going to tell you your estimated wait time. So, for example, we just did Tron Light Cycles a couple days ago, and we were group 21, and our estimated wait time was about 3 hours. But keep in mind, this was at 7 a.m., and so they're saying that we will be ready to ride close to 10 a.m., and the park opens at 9. So that kind of makes sense because the park, obviously, they can't start taking people till 9 a.m., and they're saying that we will probably be within the first hour. Now, when we got to the park and we were waiting for rope drop, so it's about 8:45, it said our number had already been called because they opened it up to about the first 25 groups at that point in time, and we were able to, right at rope drop, go ride Tron. Now, we'll talk about Tron on our next episode, but the principle is still the same. You're going to get a boarding group number, and it's going to tell you exactly where you're at, and usually we're somewhere in the 30s or 40s. We're not always as fortunate to get into the low 20s like we did the other day. Usually we're in the 30s or 40s. We have ridden Rise of the Resistance where we were in boarding group over 100, like 110, 120, and that took us most of the day to get to our number, but we were able to ride. So do rest assured that they do get through most of the numbers that they give out, but that's what your boarding group will be, and that's going to tell you what time you get to go. So throughout the day, you can come back and check the virtual queue. It will tell you that they're now boarding groups 30 through 35, or they're boarding groups 60 through 65, and you may be group 75. So you know when you're getting closer, and then you can always see that it'll change the estimated waiting time to say you're probably 15 to 30 minutes out. The best part is as soon as your number's called, you can go back, you can go scan in your Magic Band, or you can use your card, you can go through the line. And because they're doing boarding groups, the lines are relatively small. So you're not going to have a 45-minute wait or hour wait when you go in there. It's usually going to be closer to about 20 minutes or so from when you get in line to when you're actually getting close to the ride or going through the pre-show that happens. When we did Tron the other day, we just walked straight on just because it was at rope drop. We were some of the first ones in there, so that was really fortunate for us. But usually the line's not going to be that long. So do know that you're going to get a huge advantage by being in the virtual queue. You do also have the option of paying for individual lightning lane for these rides as well, including Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Ballpark, that's going to cost you about $20 per person. But that's a way that you can ride it a second time in that day if you want to, or if you want to just guarantee that I can ride it as soon as possible, you can pay for the individual lightning lane and get that. I do have a family member who did the virtual queue, they wrote it, and then they did the lightning lane because they wanted to ride it again. And we'll talk about motion sickness here in just a little bit, but they came off feeling a little ill for having riding it twice that day. So do know that Guardians is a little bit more motion prone than some of the other rides, and you may feel it a little bit more. Now, let's say it's 7 a.m., you missed it. You clicked the button and maybe you were 2 or 3 minutes late, because trust me, they are all gone within about 20 seconds. So let's say it came in at 7:01 and it says, sorry, there's no more times available. You do get a second attempt at 1 p.m. So we do recommend, if you missed it at the beginning, make sure you're ready at 1 p.m. and you have to be in the park, and all the people in your party have to be in the park with you. So you want to make sure everyone's through the turnstiles. We did see that with Rise of the Resistance. We saw some other people, because back then you had to be in the park to get the reservation. They would send in one person for their whole group to get the reservation, and then we were standing by a lady, she's trying to click it, and she could only do herself. She couldn't do anyone else in her party because they weren't in the park, and they missed out. They were not able to ride it. You want to make sure if you're going for the 1 p.m. that everybody is in the park with you, so that way their tickets are scanned and that the system says that they're there, so that way you can get that reservation. I have not met anyone who couldn't get it at 7 that couldn't also get it at 1, meaning I've not met anyone who couldn't get it at one of the 2 times as long as their party was there and ready to go. Know that they do have plenty of room. The best part about doing it at 1 p.m. is that is before the park hoppers can hop between parks. And since you have to be in the park, it is only open to the people that actually had EPCOT reservations or planned to do EPCOT. That day is their first park. So that's a great advantage for those of you that are going to EPCOT. So that's how the virtual queue works. Again, there's lots of different videos and lots of different tips and tricks out there for virtual queue. But again, right at 7 a.m., right at 1 p.m. And if you're doing the 1 p.m., you have to have everyone in the park to get it. If you don't get it, you can always do the individual lightning lanes. So next, let's talk about what happens when you go to do Guardians of the Galaxy, because we do have, I can do this all day, tip of the day here for you in a few minutes that is related to the queue. But when you go in, obviously, when you're walking up to the area, you're going to see the really cool Xandarian ship, which is included in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. That's a really cool thing. And then when you go in, the entryway is all ramps, so it is accessible. You're going to go up some ramps to get up to the upper level where they have the Xandarian History Museum, and they're going to show you all the Xandarian clothes and culture and things like that. Of course, you've got Glenn Close playing Nova Prime, and she's going to talk to you throughout the thing. And they're doing reports with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So as you walk through, it's very interactive. They're going to have news reports going on talking about how the Guardians saved the galaxy, and they saved the Xandarians, and the whole cool stuff with all that. Once you get through the queue, you're going to get into this large holding room. And that's where, obviously, you'll recognize it as soon as you go in. That's where they're metering everyone in, and they just tell everyone to just hang out in there. And that is where the first pre-show is going to happen. They're going to take you in, and you're going to see a pre-show where they talk to Nova Prime, Glenn Close, and she's going to tell you all about Xandar and how it's similar to Earth, and they want to take you there. So they're going to use their jump engine, and they're going to explain all the differences about Xandar from Earth, and it's a cultural update, right? And then you have Terry Crews comes on. He's their security officer, and he's going to beam you up. And then they're going to take you into a second room. Okay, so in the second room is where they're going to beam you, and they walk you through all that. And then, of course, then you're into a third room once you get beamed. So now you're on their ship. The I can do this all day tip of the day is important in this third room. So when you are in the second room, Terry Crews is going to tell you that he's going to beam you up. They have a white light on the ground. He says you need to stay inside the white line because you don't want to be outside of that when you get beamed up to their ship. And then, of course, they beam you up, and now you're in a completely different room. It's really cool. They had really cool Disney magic with this. Enjoy it for what it's worth. But when you land in the ship and you've been beamed into the ship, and know that you're not moving physically, it's part of it's a magic act that they do. But when you land in the ship, now you're in a huge, large room. You're going to see the majority of the crowd make a beeline for the right side of the room. And the reason is that's where the next queue is going to be to get on the coasters. And you probably have over 100 people in this room. So they're thinking, hey, if I can get ahead of these 100 people, that may be a couple roller coasters worth of time savings. So everyone's going to go towards the right. So the tip of the day is, as you're going into the pre-shows, you always want to try to stay towards the right-hand side of the room. So when you're in there and Glenn Close is talking, or Terry Crews, you want to be over towards the right. When they go in to put you into the beam room where they're going to beam you up, you want to, again, be towards the right. And then when you land in the final room, you will see the doors off to the right. You want to head that direction as soon as you see them. You don't have to wait. So the second that you're in the room and you see those doors to the right, you want to head in that direction and go stand in front of them. As soon as you get there, I do encourage you, turn back around and watch the rest of the pre-show that is happening on the screens. You don't want to miss that because it explains the ride. It explains what you're doing, why you're doing it. They have some great jokes in there. Drax is awesome talking about cake and all the different foods. But you want to be over toward the right side by those doors, so that way, once you go through, you're going to be towards the front of the next queue. Once you go through again, you're going to go up some more ramps. You're going to go then down some ramps to where they load you. They do have two sides to this, so there will be a cast member divvying people out left and right to the different cars, and you're going to get a chance then to get lined up. You can ask for a front car. Just know that because of the motion of the roller coaster, it does switch who's in the front and who's in the back. You won't always be in the front the entire time, just know that. But you can get a front seat if you'd like to do that, and they'll load you, and then you're going to go from there. Now, I'm not going to spoil the rest of the ride. I'm not going to tell you a whole lot other than to say this ride is very comparable to Space Mountain on steroids. So you are in the dark. It is a roller coaster in the dark. They have visual screens that are going the entire time explaining what is happening with the Guardians and how they're trying to help save you. And it is a ton of fun. The ride isn't super long. It's just over, I think, like a minute and a half in total. And it doesn't need to be super long because there is enough through the roller coasters, and then the individual cars do spin a little. And don't think that they spin like the top. They don't spin like the teacups do. But they do turn, which means that as you're going through the roller coaster, your car will start to turn in one direction or in another to show you what's going on the screen, or so that you can watch some action that they want you to see. Because of that, the motion does get a little bit silly, and it can cause people to be motion sick, which we will talk about here in just a second. So know that going into it, that you can potentially get ill if those kind of things bother you. I will say I've ridden it now like probably 10 times, and I have never gotten sick, but I don't feel 100% when I get off, if that makes sense. It's enough motion and it's enough movement that I feel like I don't want to get right back on it. But within about 5 or 10 minutes, I'm usually back to my normal self. I will tell you that every time that I go to ride it now, I like to take a couple good deep breaths, get some good oxygen into my body right before it takes off, and then usually I'm fine. But there is quite a bit of motion with it. When you go through the ride, they do have 6 different songs. These songs are a lot of fun. I'm going to read some of them off to you. They have September, which you guys know, obviously a great 70s song by Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's also in the Trolls movie. Disco Inferno by the Tramps. Conga by Gloria Estefan. Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears from the 80s. I Ran by Flock of Seagulls in the 80s. And One Way or Another by Blondie from the 80s as well. So some great mixes of 70s and 80s music. That's a lot of fun. My 2 personal favorite ones are Conga is great. That's probably my favorite one, just because it's so fast-paced and it moves really well with the ride. And then September's really good. I personally love Tears for Fears. Everyone Wants to Rule the World. It doesn't flow as well as Conga does with the ride, but I think that's a fun one as well. But they're all good. They're all a lot of fun. So we encourage you, definitely you want to go to EPCOT as many times as you can and try to get each one of these different songs, because they do change the experience quite a bit. But it's a lot of fun on the roller coaster. Then when you're done, you're going to come off. You're going to walk up and over the track and come out by their store. Now, I can tell you, like I said, you do have people that will get motion sick on this. I have not seen anyone get too terribly sick, but my wife, who typically does not ride this because she's worried about that, has seen a handful of people come off the ride and throw up. So do know that going into it, that there is that potential if you are very prone to motion sickness. She has agreed she's going to try it this next time. She has a relief band. We also will take some either Bonine or Dramamine and see how that works for her. And I'm happy to report in on that in the future episode. But the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is a great ride. So I will tell you this, I would err on the side of ride it. You definitely want to ride it if you're worried about it, because when you think about it through the rest of the park over at EPCOT, there are not a lot of other rides that are going to make you sick. Test Track is fast, but Test Track is not really prone to motion sickness. Mission Space is terrible. I will tell you that. If you're going to do Guardians and then do Mission Space, you're going to be really sick. But you can always do the green track at Mission Space, which is more mild. That's what I do. And that one's fine. Soarin' is fine. Figment is fine. Finding Nemo is fine. Frozen is great. And then the newest one, Ratatouille, that one, the mice move around a little bit, but I've never seen anyone get sick on that one either. Know that the rest of the park is pretty mild other than Mission Space. So you've got some great opportunity to recover the rest of your day if you ride it and you don't feel great. So with that, we want to wish you guys a magical week as you're planning your next vacation, and tune in next week as we talk about Tron Light Cycles, which we just rode the other day, and we're going to go through a similar format where we're going to talk about virtual queue and then what to expect on Tron Light Cycles. That one is also a lot of fun. It's a great ride, and we will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.